right, everyone, today is Thursday. It is May 13th. Our agenda is looking at food webs and also previewing our work for Friday and Monday. Yesterday you had a quiz, so we don't really have anything to go over from yesterday. So today's learning target is looking at food webs and being able to describe the rules in a food web. I'm gonna let these people in. And then I'm going to show this video. As we're watching the video, you guys, if you could please try and write a definition. Oops, did I stop sharing somehow? No, I'm still sharing. If you could write a definition for food webs, that would be great. Here we go.
Welcome to Science with Mr. J. In this video, I'm going to be covering food webs. And food webs are made of many intersecting food chains within an ecosystem. Food chains are very clear-cut and are pulled from food webs. Organisms can eat multiple types of prey, and there are many connections between organisms within ecosystems. So food chains don't give us the full description or representation we need for all of the organisms in an ecosystem. Food webs do this for us. In our example, we can see organisms from our ecosystem and see they are connected and how energy flows through that ecosystem. Now it may look complex, and it definitely is more complex than a food chain, but I'll show you how to break this down and interpret what's going on here. So we start with the producers at the bottom of your screen there. We have the grass, and then we have the pond plants and grasses. And remember, producers make their own food by taking energy from the sun and converting it to chemical energy through a process called photosynthesis. So we see our producers there at the bottom of the screen. We'll start there, and we're going to follow one food chain and work our way up the different levels. Now, the levels of a food chain and food web are called trophic levels. So again, let's pick out one food chain. So we're going to start with one producer, and we're going to start with the grass that's in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. Now, you'll notice there are 3 arrows going from the grass. So 3 organisms consume that grass: the mouse, the rabbit, and the grasshopper. Let's follow the arrow over to the grasshopper. So the flow of energy, the grasshopper consumes that grass. So over at the grasshopper, you'll notice 2 arrows going from the grasshopper. So those organisms eat or consume the grasshopper, the frog, and the snake. Let's follow the flow of energy to the snake. So the snake consumes the grasshopper. And from the snake, we see 1 arrow going from the snake over to the hawk. So the hawk consumes the snake. The way the arrows are pointed is very important. That shows the direction the energy is traveling. So the energy from the snake is traveling to the hawk once the hawk consumes the snake. So our food chain is over on the right-hand side of your screen. We started with the grass, that's our producer. Our primary consumer, the grasshopper, consumed the grass. Our secondary consumer, the snake, consumed the grasshopper, and our tertiary consumer, the hawk, consumed the snake. So that specific food chain has 4 trophic levels. A food chain does not have to have 4 trophic levels. It can have more, it can have less. So let's do one more example here, and we're going to do a food chain with 3 trophic levels. So let's start with the pond grass and plants that are kind of on the bottom middle of your screen there. And we'll notice that the grasshopper, the rabbit, and the mouse all consume that producer. Let's follow the energy flow to the rabbit. And then from the rabbit to the hawk. So the hawk consumes the rabbit. So that food chain has 3 trophic levels. So again, following the arrows, aka the flow of energy, shows us all of the connections within this food web and how the energy is transferred. So there you have it. There are the basics of food webs. I hope that helped. Thanks so much for watching.
All right, so hopefully you found that super helpful.
Until next
I
time,
need to listen
peace.
to you again, Mr. J, or whatever your letter was. So what I defined, or how I defined a food web, is many intersecting food chains within an ecosystem. And the important part that they really emphasized in that video was they show how energy flows within the ecosystem. Okay, so I'll leave this up here for a second if you need to edit or add to your definition. Many intersecting food chains, and they show the energy flow. All right, next up we have
Welcome to
not watch a video again. We've got kind of a blank food web, and so I would like you to create one. And that can be one that's either on land or it can be one that's in the water, and they call that marine. So try to fill in all of the boxes. If you could please, over on the left-hand side, cross out consumers there. I really want us to think about the sun, and then we've got our producers, our primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. I'm not sure why that was written there, so cross out where it says consumers. And let's work by ourselves for 5 minutes and see if we can make either a land or a marine food web. If you are watching the video, you'll want to pause it at this time and make your food web. All right, so my food web looks a little something like this. Again, I defined a food web up here. I highlighted it blue. This time I said it's the feeding relationships within a community. And I kind of did a Minnesota one where some of my consumers at the bottom were grass and corn and leaves and berries and pine trees. Some things that eat that. Uh-oh, I've got music still happening in the background. Some of the things that eat that are rabbits and mice and grasshoppers, caterpillars, deer. Then my secondary consumers included things like owls, snakes, shrews, and frogs. And then these apex organisms or tertiary consumers were things like cougars, which we do have here, also could be called a mountain lion, and hawks. So perhaps you have one that's similar or maybe different than that food web. Again, you didn't have to fill all your boxes if you couldn't get there. All right, we've got some more work to do. We're going to practice. With this one, we've got some organisms here. I'd like you to make the food web by adding arrows. And then we've got some questions here using this, and then some multiple choice questions. So we are going to go into breakout rooms. We're missing quite a few people today. We're going to go into rooms of 3. I am going to pause recording. So if you are watching this as a video, you can pause the video now and complete your work independently. All right, everyone, welcome back. Hopefully that was enough time to get a good chunk of that finished. Someone's chatting me something. Uh-oh, someone's iPad died. So here I didn't add the arrows because they were getting hard to draw correctly on Google Slides here. So I skipped that part. Perhaps you added yours like you were supposed to. There are many more producers than there are consumers. Organisms that eat other organisms are called consumers. Organisms that make their own food are called producers or autotrophs. Remember, the prefix auto means self, troph means food. Grass is a producer. Zebras are grass eaters, so they are primary consumers. And then lions eat zebras, so they'd be secondary consumers. Over on the right-hand side of your document, you've got some multiple choice questions. I don't like where they wrote primary producer, so I would just maybe cross those out as you're going through this. I said a plant is A and C, an autotroph and a producer. We can use those words interchangeably. A cow is a consumer, a primary consumer, a heterotroph, and an herbivore. Autotrophs, number 3 is D, make their own food, are the base of the food chain, are producers. Lion eats a zebra that ate grass. I start at the very end there and go, okay, grass is the producer, and then the zebra is the primary consumer, and the lion would be a secondary consumer, letter C. A bear ate a fish that ate bugs, that ate algae. Algae is the producer, bug primary, fish secondary, bear tertiary consumer, letter D. A person who eats chicken that ate grain, grain is the producer, chicken is the primary, the person is the secondary consumer. Primary consumers eat producers, secondary consumers eat primary consumers. Tertiary consumers eat secondary consumers, and quaternary consumers, if there are those in your food chain or food web, eat tertiary consumers. So lots of time spent today on looking at food webs and determining what trophic or food level they were at. Are they a producer or an autotroph? Are they primary consumers, secondary consumers, tertiary, or quaternary? Okay, important to remember, again, the arrows show the transfer of energy through an ecosystem. So tomorrow we're going to practice that. Really nice visual here with the different trophic levels and different colors for you. So again, practicing information for tomorrow on food webs. And then Monday we switch to another topic, and that is ecological relationships. So we're starting with different levels of organization. So there's just a little bit of reading here to do, and then some questions to answer. A lot of this is a review for Monday. Our to-do list, again, will look like this. If you have not yet completed the quiz, ecology quiz, it's on Canvas. Please do that as soon as possible, preferably before noon tomorrow. Otherwise, it won't be included in your grade report. We've got assignment 40 for tomorrow. And then Monday's work is all on ecological relationships, reading and answering questions. You, my friends, are now free to go.